Hi, so today we're going to be learning how to do a pin cushion. So with this pin cushion, what I did was incorporated 4 stitches. So we have the running stitch, the blanket stitch, the back stitch, and I'm going to show you how to do an overcast stitch. So the overcast stitch is great for adaptive purposes. So it's great if you want a challenge to learn a new stitch, but it's also great if you're having trouble with the blanket stitch. So it's good for either purpose. I also wanted to show you, I made another adaptation from the written instructions to sew your button on before you sew the second piece of fabric together with the other stitches. If you use a shank style button, which I mentioned in the instructions, you could sew that on last. So I can't wait for you to start making your own pin cushion. It's fun and I hope you enjoy it. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi, so this part of the project is cutting out the template. So what I did is I cut out the square template that I gave you, and I had already cut out one just to show you. So what you're going to do is take a piece of felt, whatever color you want, and you're going to pin the template to your piece of felt and then cut out the felt. Okay, if you have any questions, please let me know. Hi, so the next part of the pin cushion project is to sew the button on. So originally in my written instructions, I put it as the last step. If you're doing a shank style button like this, it's okay to sew it on last. But since I'm doing a 2-hole button, I decided to sew it on before I started to sew the other piece of the felt on. I already have my needle threaded, and I'm going to sew the button on now. I have all the videos linked in my instructions, so if you need to refer back on how to sew the button and how to thread the needle, it is on there, as well as the videos for the upcoming stitches. I will see you at the next step. Bye. Hi, so the first stitch that we're going to do on the bottom is the running stitch. So I pinned my 2 pieces of fabric together now, and I'm going to start on the bottom. Since I want to display all the different stitches that we learned, I'm going to start with the running stitch on the bottom. I have already threaded my needle. I'm leaving, I didn't double strand it this time, I left a little bit of a tail. So that way, if we make a mistake, we could just pull the needle out and undo the thread instead of having to do the whole seam. So it's a lot more effective. So I'm going to start at the edge, and I'm just going to do a couple stitches as an example, and if you need to mark it, I would do that. Do small even stitches, just like so, and then you're going to come back up again, and if you need to flip back and forth, you can. Okay, and then you go back down again. And again, I pinned my running stitch video on the thread, so you're more than welcome to reference it as you complete this step. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bye. Hi. So the second step of the instructions is to do a blanket stitch. So I already completed my running stitch. So I threaded my needle, and I'm going to enter between the 2 pieces of fabric and pull that stitch through. Now I'm going to enter in the back in the same spot. And sometimes I like to hold that extra piece, and then I'm going to go through before I close that loop, and that's my first stitch. I'm going to show you one more stitch. I linked all my videos if you need a refresher course in the blanket stitch. So I enter through the back. I try to keep a similar distance and a similar depth to the first stitch. Pull that through. Sorry, sometimes it's hard with the felt. And again, you're going to loop through, and that's how the beginning of your blanket stitch will look. Okay, and you're just going to finish completing this across the whole top. I'll show you how it looks like before the next step. And good luck. If you have any questions, let me know during this step. And please refer back to the blanket stitch video. Thank you. Hello. So my next stitch, I already did step 1 was the running stitch. Step 2 was the blanket stitch. Step 3 is going to be a back stitch. And then we're either going to close with a blanket stitch, and then for adaptive purposes, I'll show you how to close if you want more of a challenge or less of a challenge as well. I'm going to show you an overcast stitch. So hold on for that next step after this. So to start the back stitch, you go through both pieces of fabric. And I'm going to do it as close to the edge as possible. Okay, pull that up. It starts off just like a running stitch, but except, and you're going to go back down just like the running stitch. I have my back stitch video posted in this step as well. Okay, so it starts off just like the running stitch, but if you look on the back, you're gonna go over a little bit, go back up, so you have some spacing like you would in a running stitch, but instead of going forward, you're going back to that previous stitch. And you're going to try to make that as even as possible. So I have the stitch, and then if you look on the back, it looks like that. You're going to go back up, space it out a little bit, come back up, pull through, and then you're going to go back to that previous stitch as close as possible. So this is a little bit more of a secure stitch than the running stitch. There you go. Okay, and then we're just going to finish that along the top, and then we'll close off with either our overcast or our blanket, and I'll show you how to stuff it in the last step. Okay, I'll see you soon. Hi. So we're at the final stage of finishing our pincushion. So the first stitch we did was the running stitch, then we did a blanket stitch, and then we did a back stitch, and now I'm going to show you how to do an overcast stitch. So I don't have this one posted on the instructions because I said to finish with a blanket stitch, but I wanted to show you how to do the overcast stitch. So after I stuff it, we're going to start that. So we're going to stuff the pin cushion with, this is a polyester fiberfill. So you're gonna try to push it in there, fill the corners as much as possible, but we're gonna leave a little bit, like tiny space on top, because we don't also want to overfill it either. Okay. And if you have to pull some out, it pulls apart quite easily. So you could kind of give yourself some wiggle room there. A little bit more. Okay. So what I'm gonna do, I like to pin it closed. So go through both layers of the fabric and pin it. And now we're going to sew our final stitch. If you feel like it needs more, you can always even add more. I'm gonna add a little bit more in that corner before I close it up. Okay. So the great thing about the overstitch is I think it's a simple stitch. I even think it's easier than the blanket stitch. And so the great thing about it is that since we haven't done the overcast stitch, this would be a great extension or challenge for people. But at the same time, if you're having trouble with the blanket stitch, it's also a good alternative because I feel like it's an easier stitch than the blanket stitch. So I'm going to show you how to do the overcast stitch. Okay, you start from the back like always. And you go over, so that's why they call it an overcast. And you could kind of go in a different direction or a different angle. I like to kind of do it on an angle. And you kind of just space it. It's a nice decorative stitch that is a nice tight stitch, but it also leaves a pretty stitching too. And you could use this to make like a little, you could use it for pillows if you want to do it on the pillow project, or you can make little animals or anything like that. So it's a nice little stitch to learn. Okay, and so that's basically the overcast stitch. You would continue, I'm going to do one more to show you again. You would continue, make sure it's even as possible, and you can even make it a little bit straighter if you want to do it straighter. It's totally up to you. Okay. And so that is the overcast stitch. And then you're going to finish it in the back and tie it off just like we did with the others. Okay? If you have any questions, please refer back to the video. Thank you.